If by chance you are dreaming right now, wake up! Welcome to Horror Night! Welcome, everybody! Hope you're having a great Thursday, staying spooky out there. We got a very special guest on tonight, the one and only Chris Shern, talking about his film, The Vic Effect. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I met, you answered one of my, I believe, a post that I put out, because I do
Mhm.
I love the independent scene. I mean, I like horror. I, I've been watching it all my life, and even more so, even probably as an adult, because I'm able to go back or find hard to find things, or I watch all these Facebook recommendations, movies I shouldn't watch because I'm never gonna sleep again, and I just go through them all. I love it. So I see the underbelly of it, and I'm like, the independent market has such more to offer because it's not driven by this commerciality. You're able to take whatever you want, your idea, and just put it out there. No one's gonna stop you as long as you can afford it.
Right.
And I love that because the creativity shouldn't stop because of marketability. There's this great art house films that might not be sellable, but they're beautiful films.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in independence, just letting that creativity flow and seeing where that camera and what you can do with it. How can you manipulate it? What can you do with that camera that's gonna manipulate me? How am I gonna feel by what I visually see?
Right.
But let me ask you, when did you get into filmmaking?
Well, I've always been into watching, into movies and watching them and stuff like that. And I think once they started getting affordable, like the what is DSLR.
Yep.
Yeah, those cameras. I still have my T2i, my Canon T2i camera. So when I saw like visually what you can do with those cameras, I was like, oh man, I can do stuff. So I started out like doing making some music video because I'm also a musician. I play in a band. So I was doing so I can make music videos and stuff like that like around 2010 or whatever. So I think we had the accessibility of getting cameras, in our hands to do stuff, that's what really grabbed me to say, oh, I can actually make a short film or make a music video or make a feature film with this stuff. So yeah, so I was always into it, but I think around 2009, 2010, I really got, serious about really getting going with filmmaking. And then around 2016, that's when I really got serious about. And I was getting gigs doing short films, doing sound design for short films.
Yeah.
So in that time, yeah, I really got in there. So
Kind of what I'm at right now. Just started to play around with shorts because again, I think it is more affordable now. You can buy like a Black Magic,
oh yeah, 4,000 bucks.
4K Cinema Pro for very, in a couple lenses, and that's all you need to go off.
Yep.
There's people making features on phones. I mean, if you want to be
Yeah.
honest, it all depends if you can do the rest. If you can do the lighting, you have the right, shots and what you're doing with it and how you edit it. You can do almost anything today because you
Oh
don't
yeah.
have the physical stock you have to work with and get a camera that's this big. You can go
Right.
into
Yeah.
all these places,
Yeah.
guerrilla shoot, get whatever you need done. It's kind of nice time to be into film.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Definitely. It's a lot of it out there. Some of it got some ideas, and some of it can be hey, everybody's out there trying to make film, but there's no excuses anymore to not make anything. So I think that's the cool thing about what's going on right now in the
Yeah,
industry.
I would say the number one block would probably be like, if you had to put it, would be like probably ourselves. Like we don't put stuff out because we either A, don't think it's good enough to go out, or our own mind works against us. I mean, the
Yeah,
second thing would probably be time and money, but
right,
you can work around the other two, and then like especially in the indie scene, I've noticed like there's a lot of people just group together and everybody helps on each other's films, and all of a sudden,
right,
four people put out four movies, and it didn't really cost a whole lot because everybody's just kind of working on favors.
Right. Oh, definitely, definitely. It's always good to kind of have a little group of people that's in the industry who's doing low budget stuff and collaborating. I mean, there's a handful of people that I really like look into when it comes to when I work on the stuff I work on. Cause yeah, I'm I take pride in calling myself a DIY filmmaker. I mean, that's because I shoot, I edit, I score, I color,
Yep.
I do
Yep.
all the stuff, to get it out there. So
That's the
yeah,
way to do it, though, I
yeah,
think. Well, I mean, any which way, because, like, no matter what now, whoever you bring on to a project, if you want, you at least know what they have to do or what they're doing so you can put your input. Because so many people will be like, I know how to do X and Y, so let me go into it. They don't know anything about like the color grading, for instance. So they send it
right.
off to the grader and they're asking them questions, and they're like, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what this means. And it's like, well, at least you know everything. So, and if also something fails or somebody fails or something doesn't make it, you can just step right in and do it.
Yeah, and I think with with how the internet is, and looking up things, watching YouTube videos. That's how I learned how to you know make movies. I watched a lot of YouTube videos and learned how to edit, and when I hate doing it, but when I need to, doing visual effects and stuff like that. And yeah, I learned a lot, watching YouTube videos and understanding me. I feel like I understand enough of the fundamentals of everything. It was that saying, good at everything, master at none.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
we
I
got
saw I the fundamentals of everything that I do, you know, that's kind of like I take those little pieces and try to make sense of what I'm trying to do, and hopefully it
oh, I love
translates.
that,
Yeah,
'cause I mean, like, I started with graphic design and web design in the early 2000s, learning all that, and it just turned into, "Hey, I wanna add this to this." So then I'm learning video, then I'm learning, I ended up learning VFX stuff. Before
yeah,
doing anything, I learned 3D animation. Then
yeah.
I started learning, like, "Oh, this is like, okay, film," because now at this point, we got, affordable cameras.
Oh, definitely.
And then I can start playing it, and a lot of the times I just like to play around, like I said, you can, almost I always will say, you can set the whole tone of a film just by playing with the color,
Yeah,
and I'll just take, shots of random stuff, throw it together, and be like, "Let me see what I can just do with color alone, nothing else," and just
yeah,
just to practice, because we truly don't master anything at the end of the
yeah.
day, we never will, we're always
No,
learning
we
something.
always learning. I mean, if I don't, it's not my saying, but if you're not learning, you ain't living. So it's always
Yeah, no, I
you
live
always
by
it's
that,
always something you can wake up to and learn something new, especially with this stuff. I half the stuff. I'm not a tech. I have gear. I have my own gear. I got my own cameras and sound equipment and all this stuff and computers. But I'm not a gearhead. I can't analyze and break down how this work, and then I go by what makes sense for me. Yeah. I get a tiny bit annoyed when when people like kind of overanalyze the like, well, the sensors and the f stop. I don't know what do. If it looks good to me, I'm making sure this and that. But like I said, I learned the fundamentals of things, and then I kind of go from there. When you start getting technical with me, that's when you lose me. When I'm like, yeah, just you just
yeah.
go out and do shit and see what happens, and that's how I
Sometimes
love.
honestly, sometimes it don't have to be perfect. I think a
Oh
lot of,
no,
movies with the little imperfections make it a movie. It
yeah,
doesn't look overproduced either. Some things look overproduced out there, and it's like, okay, even for a movie, it looks overproduced.
yeah,
And you're just like, why? Why? I want it to look real. I want this to if I want this to scare me, then I need to believe it,
yeah.
And
Now
if I can't
it's yeah, it's funny. It's funny when it comes to like when you're a filmmaker and you watch people's film, even big budget films. It's kind of a my wife sometimes gets annoyed when I watch movies with her because I'm very analytical. Like I'm analyzing the shots and everything
Oh
that's
yeah.
going on, and I see, and honestly, I see a ton of imperfections in big budget film, especially with continuity.
Oh yeah, that's a big
When
thing.
someone's talking, you see the back of them, and they're picking up something, and then when it cut back to them, they're not picking up that same thing. Where you just like, wait a minute,
People
he cut
wearing
that
different
too quick.
shirts,
Yeah,
different hats, different
yeah.
things.
No, it's. I mean, Game of Thrones coffee cup in the freaking a period piece movie. It's like, how does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No,
Starbucks wasn't made back in so
no, I
it's
get that though, because like even like within, like I said, I'm kind of new to making film and trying to make films and doing shorts and stuff, but starting to study that about a year or two ago, my mind has changed how I watch films because I
oh
don't
yeah,
watch it with the same thing. Now I'm watching like all this other stuff, and I end up
yeah,
watching movies more than once because I'll watch it once just to watch it for plot and not worry about none. Then I'm watching again to see for tone and sound. I love sound, so I
yeah,
love to see what people can do with sound.
yeah,
When to be silent, when not to be silent. What are you
yeah,
using for, to build and rise? Is it, just traditional rise? Are you using something on that, unorthodox to make me scared? Because, there's a lot of like analog horrors out there that use great use of sound
right.
just to cause a little bit of fear or,
I
and I
mean
like that.
well, that's what I try to convey in my movie Vic Effects, which is about sound, and more so. I mean, there's a visual aspect, but more so sound and just how visceral and how certain things can just kind of get under your skin. You know,
It can, and I love that your movie showed the fact and sound in the way that I, remember thinking of sound in cinema growing up. It wasn't somebody behind a soundboard with a bunch of bytes placing in this and that. It was
yeah,
literally, people making
yeah,
noises to make the sound go, whatever it was.
right,
And I love to read about it because it'd be like, this is how they made the train noise. This is how
yeah.
and it's like it's something totally different you would never think of.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there's no and the one thing that I took from doing my research for making my movie, I watched a lot of documentary about Foley artists because they still exist. Like not everything is a library of sounds. You just grab stuff. These people still have jobs. There's no
Yeah.
school for this. It's all about your instincts. It's all about finding things to say. Okay, how can I make? It's hard to say. Okay, how do you make a choking sound? How do you make a choking sound? Like it's not really a sound for choking, but how do you make a choking sound for like for a horror movie of someone of grabbing someone and choking them.
See, I come from a wrestling background, so I just be like, yo, we're gonna choke you out. Here we go. Pretend it's a wrestling thing.
Now you do it in a horror movie. Like, how do I make this sound even? I mean, from the visual, yeah, you see it, but how do I make this sound even more? Like, let me
Well,
let me add some crackling just to
well,
add
yeah,
some
you have to
absurdity
play
to the
with it because at the end of
right,
the day, you're only gonna go so far. You're not gonna
right.
make the person actually, even if they're gasping, it's not gonna sound authentic unless you're
No, it's
trying to really
yeah,
kill them. And you
yeah,
can't do that. I don't recommend anybody trying to really strangle somebody for sound. Don't do
right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get anything. You're just gonna kill someone.
You're gonna
It's
kill
like,
you're gonna kill one of your actors and probably get a
yeah,
lawsuit. Um, but no, you're right. But even that, it's like the sound analysts that have to go through and kind of figure out, well, what does choking actually sound like? What does
yeah.
choking someone to death sound like? And how can this even be mimicked?
I mean, that's the. I mean, especially with horror movies, that's the job of the foley artist to say, okay, how do I? I mean, I'm creating absurdity anyway. Horror movies is fun. It's supposed to be fun. You don't. This is not like supernatural thing. It's not based in reality. So how do I create this absurdity to kind of get something that's gonna grab people, especially with sound, gonna grab people within what I'm doing visually. So you just it's more about instincts. Like with what I did, and in my movie I mentioned I mentioned it in the fake documentary we made where I grabbed these plastic bottles and I just and put some duct tape around it, and I just turned them, and I just like created this kind of crackling sound just to kind of build some absurdity of yeah, a choke don't sound like that, but that's what the Foley artist provided to give it something, give it some body, and then
And at the
bring
end
it
of the
into that
day,
world.
almost I would take it like every visual artist, every artist in general leaves their mark. The Foley artist kind of leaves their digital mark or their musical mark when it comes to certain sounds and what they like to work with, what
Right,
materials they like to work with. Are they
right.
more plastic? Are they more into rubber? Like I
Yeah,
would think they would have all their own little signature.
yeah,
And so,
definitely.
I mean, it's very interesting because, again, being in the age we're in, a lot of it is, we get these sounds or we buy, sound packs or
Yeah,
maybe we record our own sounds. We
yeah,
need something, so we record it. But even those sound bites, like you said, they're coming from somewhere, and I'm guessing a lot of the artists went to even maybe going and making sound bites for other people to use.
right.
Um, but all sound has to come from somewhere, and I think the biggest thing is a lot of people don't realize, like, a lot of it isn't the sound that you're filming.
Yeah,
Like, sometimes you're cutting the whole thing on, you're adding the ambience in, you're adding other things in. The sound that
yeah,
it came with is not good, so
yeah,
you're adding all these layers of different things in there
yeah,
just to make it sound like a scene that you could have probably got if you filmed it, but it just was the sound wasn't good. It wasn't what you're looking for. It was too dull. It wasn't enough, you know, cackling or whatever sound you're looking for.
yeah,
And I think the sound is so important in a movie. That's why I like to see a horror movie about kind of on sound, just because
yeah.
it's such a major player in any movie. I mean, we know certain horror movies just by theme songs.
Mhm.
And even more, we know them by bits of theme songs. You could do a couple of riffs off Halloween, and we know the movie, we
Well,
know the
yeah,
title, we know the killer, we
definitely.
know everything. But without these sounds, would these movies even be that iconic? Probably not, because a lot of them made the movies or made the movie better or made them, even the simple Jason sound of the cha chas.
Yeah,
It made that movie give a vibe that, oh, we in the woods kind of now. It's different. But let me ask you, what came about this? Like you said, you did some research on the Foley artist. Did you have this idea coming up, or is this something you always just been interested in filming about?
well, yeah. I mean, like I said, when I started out getting more serious into filmmaking, I was doing sound design for short films. So a lot of times, you creating the sound by I was doing a lot of like wasn't really doing that much horror. I was doing more drama stuff. Then I got a couple of horror gigs to do sound design for. And there are certain things that you can still do using like audio tracks you find online and like audio packs or whatever. But there's also certain things that you got to make up something. Like it was a scene where a woman drowned in the lake and then she came back to life and she came to this guy's house and killed him. So I'm like, all right, so she's probably she's wet, she's all sogged up, and she's walking into this house, she's all barefoot. So how do I make that work? So what I did was wrap some towels around my feet, and then I grabbed like another towel. So I was like walking like this, and I had to physically do this the sound design
And and what
instead
do
of
you just get a boom mic out? You just record into a device and just
no,
going.
I just grabbed my mic and just kind of wrap some towels around my feet and just kind of get a squishing sound of a woman walking.
And
And
then
when I
line
did,
it up to match when she's actually
yeah, yeah. So
walking.
I was looking at the video and I just kind of matched it up. It was like 3 seconds of that, and then yeah, just building energy, with just me just using my instincts to find things that make sense of the sound, especially if I can find it, find like an audio piece of it somewhere. So I think once I did that, I mean that when I did that movie, that's when I really got the idea of like, man, there's not a movie out there that's about, someone making sound effects. People would say the movie Blowout with John Travolta because he played a Foley artist, but that's a little bit different. Like that was his job as a Foley artist, but that wasn't like the whole premise of. He
Yeah,
wasn't in the studio making sounds and stuff. Why he was like, man, I'm assuming you've seen the movie before.
yeah,
Blowout. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. But I looked at that and say, no, that's not what I'm think I'm doing. And I've seen a couple of short films about, sound design and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. And then once I started getting the idea in place, I saw this movie called Barbarian Sound Studio. And it's definitely about check the movie out. It was definitely an influence. Um, when I started writing the script, I started looking up movies about Foley artists, and then that movie popped up. So I was like, I watched it. I'm like, oh, this was really good. Now it's fully on about sound. Like you don't see the visual of everything, but it's definitely in that, and it is more focused on the sound. Now with Vic Effects, I focus on the sound, but people also get to see the progress of the movie that she's doing sound effects for.
yeah.
So
She's
the back
work
and forth.
physically doing them. You see her
Yeah. So
squishing and doing, and I
yeah.
don't want to give spoilers, but like I
Oh
said,
no.
like one scene I saw, she's twisting and turning physically while the
Yeah.
movie's happening,
Right.
and you see him cutting back from scene to scene of
Right.
what's going on, and the
Yeah.
sounds matching up, and we don't get to always see that behind the scenes, and the way it was shot. Like you said, it was almost like it was a really good mockumentary, in my opinion.
Thank
The way it was kind of shot,
thank
and it also gave me almost like a very big theater vibe with the color use. It was almost like I was on a set of a theater,
yeah.
like a big production theater.
Wow.
Because the color of it was just very reminiscent of that. Everything felt really artsy on the set of the movie that they were filming.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what my brain was thinking. I did like I think 10 color grades for this movie because it goes back and forth. I got the color grade of Vic inside the studio doing sound effects, and then I got the other, and I came up with three, different movies to these little small movies that we created to add to the different things she's doing, and then cut to that. So
Yeah, making the movies within the movies.
yeah, so yeah, very meta. Yeah, it was very yeah. So obviously, all the color grades had to be different because we was in different locations, we used different cameras and all this stuff. So it's still such a tiny movie, but it was very ambitious in what
But
I
it
had
feel
to
but each
do.
each scene does feel like, oh, in a lot of ways, like a different movie, or it really was legitimately a different movie that this person was making, rather than everything just being filmed universal,
Right,
across the
right,
board. And again, changing just those, like I said, colors of things just can change a whole tone of the movie the same way sound can. I mean, you put a
yeah,
happy soundtrack to something, it becomes happy. But
right,
I've seen people take, great movie trailers of funny movies and couple quick edits and it changed the sound, and all of a sudden this shit's a horror film.
yeah,
It scared
yeah,
Mary Poppins. I don't want to be having nanny no more. Like, I'm good.
yeah,
uh, but yeah, like I said, it's something different because in the market of films, if you look at a lot of people, they got the zombie films or the slasher films. We got a supernatural gazore. A lot of people, we can make a movie about something haunted or a possession, and that goes even for Hollywood. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
again, I strive for something a little bit different, regardless of which way it goes. Budget, cinematics, whatever it is. I would rather see something different without $1 billion budget than something
right,
the same again with all the money in the world, because it's too same.
yeah.
Um, but I will say on this one, I will ask, did you finance that project yourself? Did you get backing for that?
Well, at first it was self financed. So within the last 2 years before I started writing, I started putting money aside to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna need. I got lucky because the studio that I use, my engineer who sound mixed it. John Matniscus. He let me, and I've known him for 30 years. Um, he let me use the studio, and we talked about, well, if the movie do something, we'll get a percent. I say, hey, if you want to help me out with this and that, I give you a percentage of this. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And he's like my big brother, so he's like, yeah, man. He's retired. He does. He has his own home studio, and he's like, yeah, let's just do stuff. So I got lucky when it came to stuff like that. So I self financed it, and then after I was done shooting, I was like, man, I need some money for like visual effects because I don't want to do it because I hate doing visual effects and I needed certain things to
I
like.
was gonna ask, did you do the lightning scene in the beginning?
No, I hired someone to do that because if I didn't, I would have. That movie would have never got done.
It was
So
good though. I mean, I
oh no,
enjoyed that.
he's
Because I'm not
phenomenal.
I'm not a VFX person. I'll be honest. I love just practical effects. I love this because I love to see the creativity, like your sound, how people make sound. I love to
Yeah,
see what people can use to make a physical effect,
yeah,
a practical effect. How can they make something they look cut? How can they do such and such? How can they make a monster? And people do these
right,
crazy things again with some of the same tools they're using for sound.
right.
But but when I saw that right off the bat, I'm like, okay, this is exciting because because you're seeing the movie scene, but it was like, okay, we're seeing behind the scenes, but technically on set you wouldn't really see that. All you would see would be just a green screen and two people fighting.
Right.
And so you didn't even have that. You have almost a finished product of it being
Yeah,
shown. And it's very dramatic, intense fight. And then you got her working in it and going back and forth. And
yeah,
I thought it was great because, again, it was like the finished product of whatever they were doing. And for her,
right.
the working it, this is what they created for, and this is how it sounded when it looked at its finished product.
Right. Yeah, I always tell people you go from the progress, you go from the process to the progress. So when you seen her doing, and when the audience seeing her creating, doing the stuff that she's doing, it cuts to this is the final movie that she did. So you finally see everything. So it's like it's you got the beginning stages and then you got the full spectrum. So you kind of tossing them back and forth to whatever all the stuff that was going through. And if anyone noticed, I was a lot of the fake movies that I made, especially that movie which is called Cyclone Base 9. That movie was paying homage to Aliens, Predator, and Aliens 3. Because the color grade. I know
Yeah,
people like
it
to sit
had
on
that
people like
vibe.
to sit on Aliens 3, but the color grade is got that very brown, dirty texture, and I like that movie. I think the alien creature was terrible. The CGI was horrible, and I'm a David Fincher fan. I like that movie, but that was me paying homage to that whole.
I'll be honest, I also got a little vibes of like that original '90s Mortal Kombat movie, where like 'cause
Oh
with the lightning and stuff, it was
yeah,
there, and the fighting scene, it was intense. It was like, I was like, finish
that's
him
cool.
off. It's
I
going
take
back
it.
and forth.
Yeah,
But that must have been kind of fun writing, little films within the film because now you can just bring a bunch of smaller short films. Because you said like you started with short films, and I could do kind of a
right.
bunch of short films or scenes of a short film and
Yeah,
incorporate all these things within a bigger film.
right. Yeah, and that not and it's funny. Yeah, it's funny because like I don't want to fast forward, but like a lot of the stuff I did in Vic Effects, and I wouldn't call it a sequel. A lot of stuff I did in Vic Effects with the short films, I'm going to extend those into a feature short for this anthology movie that I'm going to be working
Oh,
on.
beautiful,
Yeah, and
beautiful.
so
We
that
can talk
first one was
about
like
that a little later, but
yeah, so the Cyclone Base 9, the first thing you saw, that's gonna be one of those short films that I'm gonna expand into, you know, and like
so,
one of
like
my
for
favorite.
instance, when we'll know maybe why they're fighting, where we are at,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
who's
exactly.
who's a good guy and bad guy. Because at some point you don't even know that. You don't know what's
Yeah,
going on. You just see two people going to war,
right, right,
and then
and then yeah,
it's not even human. It's like okay, but it was so like I said with that going, the visuals of that and the color and how it was shot, and then going back and forth. It was just
Yeah,
like, wow, because the passion in her, you could feel it. You could feel the energy going in.
yeah,
Even though it was shot like that, you could still feel it like, oh my God, I'm actually watching someone make sound for a movie. Because,
right.
it was shot, and like I said, the way you shot it as documentary film, it felt like, well, this might have been behind the scenes of another film. Like, I don't honestly know.
Yeah. Nah, I mean
Um,
that, and the like the and like you said, man. I mean, I'm I love movies. I love all kinds of movies. I love big budget movies. I love independent movies and stuff like that. But me as a filmmaker, I just want I don't want to come off pretentious or this and that, but it's like I want to make movies. I just want to make something that's interesting to me and say, how can I flesh this out for 90 minutes? And I've always been intrigued by. I mean, I'm a musician, so I'm all about sound. I listen to music. I listen to sounds and textures. I'm always got my field recorder. I mean, hell, my phone. I mean, you don't spend thousands of dollars on a phone to talk on it. You got awesome recording apps. You got all these things. A lot of
yeah, I
the
mean,
sound.
I buy it for the camera because with the
Oh yeah,
camera you can buy all these other kinds of apps and turn it
exactly.
into a professional camera.
One of the scenes where she plugs that thing inside her arm. When you hear some of the sounds, that's from a garage. I used to work at a print shop. It was this heavy latch on our garage door, and I'm like, man, that sounds interesting. So I used my phone and recorded that, and I took that sound, threw it in my computer. So when she's plugging in this pin into her arm, to get some energy. That sound came from that was the garage door latch that I used that I recorded on my phone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I got all kinds of sound files of just random shit that you
The-
just it's all about your instincts and you just find stuff to say, damn, okay, cool. That thing just did that. That's gonna be something for something I can use, for that. I mean, that movie was painstakingly insane sound designing that part. it took it took months and we had to redo it like over again. And then once we got distribution, we redid the whole movie. So what you saw was the newest version of the movie
So
compared
that's
to
what
what
I'm
we
gonna
had
be able to
in.
buy on Blu-ray, maybe or something.
Yeah, we and this is perfect time that we're doing this is perfect timing that we're doing the podcast because March 10th the movie will be streaming. I don't know exactly where it'll be streamed, but it'll be on VOD, video on demand. It'll be on sale at Walmart and Amazon online only. But
Nice. I'm a
it'll be
physical media person. I mean, I
yeah,
love the streaming, and I end up buying the streaming because I'm lazy to put the Blu-ray in.
yeah,
But I still need the physical version because
yeah.
these streaming services stop or shit, and also honestly, it comes with features. It looks cool. I'm a person from a VHS era. I used to work
Oh
in
yeah,
video stores. Cover art, everything, the
yeah,
design of it, the whole thing makes it.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's I'm the same way, man.
would you
But
say
yeah,
March 10th?
yeah, March 10th will be Vic Effects will be out. I'll get more information from the distributor. I don't know where it's going to be streaming. I think right now it'll probably be on Amazon. It'll probably be on Prime Video to
Probably
rent,
on Prime
and then
instead of for a
eventually it'll
cost.
go on Tubi and then Amazon Prime and all that other
I
good
try
stuff.
to just stick to one. So if it's on Prime, that's great because then I can
Yeah.
just keep everything together. Because otherwise, I got movies all over the place too.
Oh yeah,
Like
me too, man. Yeah. If I
because
didn't
there's
have
movies
young
that I
kids,
don't
I'd
really
be like,
want to
yeah,
invest. Like there's other movies that like I'm like, okay, this looks like it's good. I'm not sure I'm gonna want to invest in the physical media though, so I'm
yeah.
gonna watch it. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just rent it for $7.99 when I can buy it for $9.99. So I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
buy it.
yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
now I own this video on one of these platforms. I'm like, okay, it was okay. I might want to watch it again, but so it's good for digital. And then I'm like, okay, and then so I go to all these different places, and I was like, got like just mass collections of videos everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
it is what it is. But it, we're in that age. It's just like yes, it's oversaturated what's out there for digital videos because there's all these platforms. You got new
Yeah.
horror platforms coming up every day.
Yeah.
But it's also a good way for people to get their films out there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ones that, have a more independent feel. There's ones that are like Tubi, where they take, a bunch of stuff. Not everything is great, I'll
Yeah.
be honest, but I mean, there's also some really good flicks up there. I mean, and it's kind of
Yeah.
cool to see your movie next to this mainstream video when
No.
people are streaming by.
Yeah. No, that's the crazy thing about, about media in general now. It's like you have regardless, I mean, it'd be nice to make some money off your movies, but you can also put your movie, Vic Effects is next to um shit, what's that movie about the creatures and woman was the kid is deaf.
Oh, don't with
Um ah,
don't say no. It's not don't say a word or
they
keep
did three
quiet or
of
something.
they did three of these movies. Um
Oh shoot, what is it?
ah, with Emily Blunt.
Yeah, wasn't it? Don't was it Hush? No.
Uh I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. 'Cause now it's gonna bother me. I hate when that
Yeah,
happens. You end up running through so many movies and then you got your own stuff and then titles just become
Emily
blurred.
Blunt.
You
Hold on.
just remember plots and people.
A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
so Vic Effects is next to A Quiet Place.
And I mean that's the thing. What's gonna happen is your movie's gonna be watched by a bunch of people, and they're gonna be, maybe even myself, and I'm gonna be watching all these other films too. And all of a sudden it's going to become an algorithm that people are like, okay, if they like this film, now check out this, and all of a sudden
Yeah,
you're going to be underneath some major film or some other horror film that
y
people might know more, has bigger advertisement for, and
yeah,
then they lean into you and they find you and they're like, oh, this is interesting, this is something different, who directed this?
yeah. Nah,
I've
yeah,
done
I
that
mean,
many a times on Tubi. I'll just let Tubi run and let them kind of pick the next movie for me, saying,
right.
thinking what I want to see and see where it lands. Because sometimes I find gold once
Yeah.
in a while.
Nah, yeah, man. I mean, that's that's when it comes to us as independent filmmakers, man, we just people have to stumble. Sometimes people just we don't have the marketing machine. We don't have the money to like pay for, all these different advertisements. So people just have to stumble upon our stuff, and
Well, that's what I
that's
was
what I'm
gonna say.
hoping
You
for.
you got the distribution. Did you end up getting some producers to jump behind this project?
Well, so going back to my funding situation, I actually did a Indiegogo
Okay,
for
sweet,
post
nice.
production, and I was I just wanted to raise like a couple of grand, and I raised like I'd raised like over $7,000
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So that was really, I mean, it was cool. I had like 30 producers in the credits because people bought producer perks and stuff like that. I It was cool. It was stressful. I don't know if I'll do the crowdfunding thing again, just because it's like it's just so I'm trying to get the movie done, and then you have this other job of asking people for money and this and that, and it's just
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I guess if you have a marketing team or a team that works that way, you can just
yeah,
make the film, then it comes easy. Otherwise, you're playing too many roles. It's like, am I
yeah,
trying to get the money? Am I making the film? I could just make the film now and pay later. Like,
right,
but I do enjoy the crowdfunding because there's a few people or movies or directors that I'll see and I see what they're doing. I'll be like, you know what, I don't mind to jump on the executive producer or throw that credit under because it does help a film and it puts me as a producer somewhere, it attaches me, and it's something that I want to see grow.
yeah,
Because
man,
not everybody can get that money or do have the access, depending on where people live and such. I know people like in Cali, they might have easier access to places to film because of
yeah,
all this abandoned sets and stuff. Where
yeah,
you're filming in, Illinois, maybe that's a little bit different. In Boston, it's probably going to be more expensive in certain spots, depending on
yeah,
what I want to do. Everybody, is a little bit different. Then you got to, depending what you're using for talent, who's around.
right,
You got to start flying people in and out, actresses, actors. How long are you shooting for? Um,
yeah,
But let me ask you, so to go back to the question, so you did the crowdsourcing, yes, you ended up with all that, but you raised more than what you were looking for,
Hmm.
and that must have been kind of a relief there that you're able to now just do what you want to do with this film and take it where you want to take it without any financial restriction.
Oh no, it was, yeah, it was like that for the visual effects stuff that I had, that I didn't have to do because I had the money to pay someone. That was fantastic. That made the movie. I mean, it still took a while for the. I mean, I started shooting the movie in 2023, and it's 2026 that it's gonna finally be streaming. But um, but at the same time, yeah, that helped me out a ton. The bright side of that, like, yeah, that helped me out. The bad side of it, I still had to pay taxes to that money that
Yeah.
I, so I technically didn't get 7 grand. So it was like I had over a grand of taxes to pay. So I had to make sure I didn't pull everything out. Then I still got to fulfill people's perks because people bought some physical. I got a lot of producer perks, so that was
Yeah.
cool. And then so now I got some physical media stuff that I got to send out, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
the
doing that.
Blu-rays and some people do shirts, posters, sign stuff, scripts, all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I
yeah. So I mean, I think it's beneficial because you can build relationships with people. I just think like, and I did have a couple of people helping me within that, but things didn't work out as great as I would have liked when it came to that stuff. So that's when I was like, man, I was losing sight on what I was doing because the movie was done. Like I
Yeah.
edited the movie. Now it was in post production, and then that's when things just kind of got
Well, that's
weird.
when you need the VFX and you need all this other stuff. It's like,
Yeah,
you need kind of this or you're gonna be doing it.
yeah. And I did not want I still ended up doing some visual effects stuff in the movie. So there are certain things that I did do, but the main stuff I definitely didn't, like with Cyclone Base 9, I added other atmosphere and particles and stuff with it, and
Simple stuff that you can
yeah,
do, but
yeah,
not so much the tracking effects. I find for me the tracking effects are a pain in the ass.
oh
When you
man,
have to track the sword or track this
yeah,
or track anything,
yeah,
it's like, oh, it's not lining up, it ain't there, it ain't moving
yeah,
with it, it's not moving correctly. It's just like,
yeah, yeah.
let me just send this off to somebody.
Yeah, and luckily the guy sent off, doing some other stuff. Steve Eaton from CCC Films. He did a lot of the stuff for the fantasy stuff with the women with the wings. So he did all of those visual effects for me for that segment of for Vic Effects. And yeah, he literally, and he's old school, so he literally he tracked all the different things by hand instead of like the way you can do it now. It's easier to do it now, but the way he did it, he just that's what he knew how to do. And that scene took like 3 months for him to get, yeah, a little bit like around 3 months for him to get that whole scene done. That's like 8 minutes of the film. That's 3 months of like the film was edit and read, the edit, and I can color it and all that stuff. But the visual effects was like, yeah, I had to go into the following year to be like, yeah, I gotta do this. And then finally, last year we did the premiere over the summer in the theaters, and we got a good reaction, and we did some festivals. Festivals are weird because I thought we would do a little bit better than we did. We did good. We won some awards and stuff like that, but I felt like I thought we would get more traction because I'm like, oh, we making this different kind of movie. But I don't know, man. It's like
It all depends on I think it depends on the festival, people,
yeah,
what the kind of vibe is, because some people do want the same old stuff. They don't
yeah.
care.
I honestly, man, when people talk about, oh man, look at they're gonna make another disc, they're gonna do this and this again. We don't want to see this anymore. We want something new. I'm like, I don't know if people really do. Like, are you prepared to want something new?
No, because when
They're about to
something new
reboot
come along,
Halloween.
they'll be like, that's stupid, or this ain't right, or this ain't scary, or this is too what, this is too out there.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to like, "Nah, we wanna go back to a slasher. Where's
Yeah,
the killer? Where's
yeah,
the
we want
masked killer?" And I'm just like,
yeah, we want the
"Ugh."
IP, we want the stuff that we're familiar with, and that's fine. But it's like people can. I personally don't think people when people say there's not there's not original ideas. I'm like, yes, it is.
No, I mean, I think
Yeah,
well, I mean, if you wanna talk about I think movies like Skinamarink, people wanted something different, and then people weren't ready to accept what different could look like. Like,
yeah,
granted, it had its flaws, and there was things that could have been done to actually execute it, but it had the makings of something totally different and a different vibe. Like, there's so much different horror out there. There's so many subgenres to play with.
what did you think of that movie, Skinamarink?
I'm a big analog horror fan, so I enjoyed the atmospherics of it. I was intrigued by what's going on because I'm trying to make sense of what's going on. It
Yeah,
made me have to focus on the film. It wasn't a film I could be, editing my own video and watching it in the background. It's like
yeah,
I had to actually watch to see what was going on. But I don't think it was actually the execution at the end and everything. I think it was just missing some key elements. Well, like I recently got into something called VCR Willie. It's by a guy named Alex Henderson, and it's an analog horror kind of thing.
yeah,
And I thought it was almost it had a similar kind of atmosphere, but it delivered on the actual scaring me and making me kind of, oh God, this is kind of terrifying.
yeah,
But I love different movies, and I don't mind to give them a go. You tell me there's a movie that somebody made, out of this, and it doesn't matter what it is because, like you said, horror is supposed to be fun. At least that's what I think of it is. I look at it
right,
as an escape from the real horror. There's a lot of stuff I want to watch real horror. I'll turn the news on to see what's going on everywhere. It's like I don't. I watch cinematic horror because I enjoy it. I like to see what the creativity process or where it's going, what they're doing.
right,
Um, I grew up with things like Goosebumps and such, and I enjoyed that kind of on the edge of your seat feeling. As I got older, that kind of went away. You get a little bit desensitized. You watch a lot of different films, different horrors. I said I watch a lot of French films, extreme horror films, exploitation. So the gore kind of goes away, and now you
yeah,
kind of at the point of what can people do with story? What can people do with plot? What
yeah,
can people do with sound? Just sound,
right.
can you scare me with the soundtrack?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what my goal was for Vic Effects. I mean that was a sound bed of like music and stuff like that, but certain elements in certain parts of the movie, it was more about okay, how does and people said it to me like the way the ambience sound in that room with a woman with the red, with the person with the red face and the red cloak in that room with the
Yep.
other woman torturing her like that. People was talking about the room tone. Like the room tone was creepy because there was no music in there. It was just that room tone. And if people and then once again, this is like you know if people really paid attention within that room tone, there was breathing in that room tone, but it didn't come across of the breathing of the woman and the
Yep.
red face character.
Oh,
So the thought process is, well, what's that breathing to? Because if someone, if people watch, I think you should watch Vic Effects twice because there's a lot of Easter eggs. But if you pay attention in that room, because you just hear that room tone and then whatever's going on in there, you can hear breathing in that room tone.
see, I'm gonna watch it
And-
again. I planned on doing it twice. Once after we talked, just so I could kind of
Yeah,
go back and look for things. But I asked this to anybody, either the sound engineers or people that do their sound. When do you really kind of know when to, have a backtrack or have some other, music playing or keep, just ambience or just no sound, make it silent almost, or like you said, just breathing. How do you
well,
know when's enough is enough and when to make it kind of go?
so I have this term, I call it KISS. Is keep it simple, stupid. So I've learned not to do too much if you don't need to. And especially with this movie, there's some moments where it get bombastic, but in that room, I knew I didn't want a soundtrack. I didn't want a music playing in that room because I
Yep.
wanted that room to feel like people was in it,
And you
not
want
there
just the
watching
fear
a
of
movie. Yeah.
yeah.
So the fear of that. So I mean, I'm not giving anything away. So there's a scene where she slices the woman. You know, the character is called Redface. So Redface slices the woman's wrist. Or when Redface, you know, you hear that sound. When Redface put the tube into her wrist once he sliced it open, and it's very lingering, and you hear the crackling and the gooey stuff, and then you hear that room tone. I could have put some big music in there that's like, and then that would have just messed up the whole thing because like the vibe was the room tone and hearing all that crackling of Redface getting that trying to get that tube in
Yeah,
her.
I mean, and I think that's, a good point. If you're gonna go to the trouble of actually making all these sound layers of crackling and bone crushing and cutting open and all those visceral sounds to let people hear it and feel that kind of horror, why mask it over a freaking soundtrack? It's almost either
Right,
overkill or you're not. No one's gonna hear all the work you just did. They
right,
only hear bits and pieces of it.
right.
Um, I learned that kind of on the certain I guess that, my earlier films, I always thought should have a lot of soundtracks. And then I
Yeah,
realized, no, let me switch it up and let me either use natural ambience or just, add in just,
yeah,
real life ambience and only use, instrumentals or stuff. And now I don't even sometimes I'll just bring in like my synth and just do a
yeah,
couple of different weird synth sounds if I
yeah,
want something weird and ambient and just leave that and maybe repeat it a little bit.
yeah, man. It just I feel like it opens things up with everything else. It's like it's just having that complementary element to everything else that's in that scene. Just sometimes that just works. Sometimes that little one hit or couple of notes that you put on the scent just gonna make the rest of that. I think that just builds the tension. I think it gives it breathing room. So
Yeah.
when you open up, people see and hear that. It just gives them layers to kind of. They're not just like, oh, I'm just listening to this music and then it's interfering with everything else that's going on. And
But
I've
no.
learned that. So I put out. So I have a movie. It should still be on. It's on YouTube, but it's on Tubi. It's on Tubi TV called Evil Lurks.
Yeah.
It's a supernatural horror drama type film. So it's called not. I know it's a movie called When Evil Lurks, but this is our version, our low budget DSLR shooting. You know, but you should when you got time check out this movie called Evil Lurks. That's my first film that I
I'm gonna
did.
watch them. Yes.
Yeah, that I did in 2022, 23. No, we
Okay.
shot it in 2019 and then it came out like it took 4 years to make this damn
Well,
thing.
we had a pandemic in the middle of all that, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
can excuse the 4 years. There's a lot of
yeah.
movies that like were shot in 2019, but nobody could do any like reshoots or posts until
Oh
like an
yeah.
extra 2 years. So it's like movies that were done then didn't come out till 2022 or 23.
Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah, so we was in that way because we stopped filming in December of 2019. And then by the time we were done filming, and then it was 2020, we were gonna do a reshoot for something. And then when the pandemic happened, like, well, we're keeping that version because
Yeah.
we're everything's all fucked up. But yeah, so that movie's on Evil Lurks is on Tubi TV. You should check that out. That's my first film. I'm proud of it because it's my first film, but there's a lot of things I wish I would have done differently compared to what I'm doing, what I did with Vic Effects and what I'm doing now with my newest film. So I definitely we definitely had no money and made this grandiose thing. I did majority of the visual effects for that movie. Um that's why I don't want to do visual effects anymore for anything. But yeah, but check that movie out, Evil Lurks. That's my first film. So I learned a lot from that where I we the original cut was 2.5 hours and I made 51 pieces of music for that movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So we went from 2.5 hours to an hour and 44 minutes. because
There's like a whole other film somewhere of that, like a whole
yeah,
lost version.
yeah, we the director's cut, but
Yeah,
I
right?
was like, there's no
More
first of
like the
all,
Schneider's cut. You almost got 3 hours there. It's like a Lord of the Rings movie.
because it was because I was in that. Well, we got to keep this, and we got to make this scene extra 2 minutes, and it's just like the one thing. Vic Effect could have easily been a 2 hour movie, but I knew how almost a 2 hour movie, but I knew how I needed to cut that movie, and it ended up being 98 minutes, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. It's not. It's a little over 90, and it's under 100.
You can
But
always have more footage. It's harder to
oh, I
add
got
than
so
take
much.
away.
I got so much footage. When you those movies within the movies, I got enough to do probably 10, 15 minute shorts. That I
That's
just I
awesome,
got.
because I'm a big firm believer of just keep shooting everything because you never know when. If not right
Oh
now,
yeah,
then the next one, or you want to tie something in. At least you don't have to go back and try to recreate what you were doing. You already had that raw footage
right,
from that
right.
time.
And that
Flashback scenes, even if you have a sequel, any of that stuff.
yeah. So
Because I
that's
always
kind of
believe
my
in
goal
shooting.
with that though. But
But you
yeah,
did
man.
say you're working on a new film. It's going to be more of an anthology. You're going to kind of dive into the short films that were within,
Yeah.
or the films that were within this film, and Victor Effects. And so, how has that been going? Have you started? Is it started actually filming yet? You just in pre-production?
Well, that film, I'm hoping to start shooting. I'm start hoping to start filming that film, shooting that film in the fall. Right now, I'm working on a movie called Hug These Bones. Hug
Ooh,
These Bones. It's a supernatural horror drama. It's about a guy named Malcolm in his 60s. He's struggling with drug addiction, alcoholism. So he almost dies, and he goes to rehab meeting, and they talk, and one of the counselors mentioned to him about cuddle therapy. So he goes to a cuddle party, and he meets this cuddle therapist named Rainey. And one thing lead to another, and he started going to cuddle therapy, and he started talking to her about his relationships with his kids. And he feels like I'm almost on my way out, so I want to rekindle a relationship with my children. So she tries to help him kind of get through that, to rekindle his relations with his children. But little do he know, Rainey has a entity inside her that when she hugs someone for a certain amount of time, she takes their souls.
oh, that's great. Like
Yeah,
almost like the X-Men girl that like when you touch her, she would like make them collapse and kill them.
yeah, yeah. So, but I stress to people, it's a horror drama. It's very drenched in drama, and then
'Cause
it
you're in his relationship, you're watching real life horror with addiction struggle, but
yes,
then, like cause for instance, like I said, there's so many subgenres of horror, but even some of these dramas, like, I think Requiem for a Dream is a perfect example. It's a
oh
horror
yeah,
film.
oh
The
yeah,
way they shot that and the
yeah,
addiction and the ending and how everybody ended up, that's a
yeah,
real life horror film.
yeah,
I mean, it made me so I never did drugs like that because it was one of those films I watched when I was young because I worked at the movie theater. We got the screener. My friend was like, they worked there. The girl was like, "You should take this home. This movie's wild." And I put it on and like, I watched it once and then I watched it again and then I gave it back. And like, I was still thinking about this movie like a week later
yeah,
to the
yeah.
point
Me
that when it
too.
dropped, I bought it. I'm like, because it was just the way it was shot. Like I said, these quick cuts, pupils dilate, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
And so but to me it was scary because I was also watching people that I knew that were into these drugs or had just started using these drugs or were
yeah,
already too far into them. I was like, damn, this is really kind of scaring me. So you have that in a film like that, but then you also have a supernatural horror going on. And then, like you
right.
said, you got this guy working through therapy, which can be scary in general too.
Yeah,
So you got like a lot of like a bunch of stuff going. I like that though. That's another nobody. I mean, I've never seen any movies about hugging and hug therapy out there,
Yeah,
especially in that realm. That's
yeah.
new.
I follow this woman on Instagram and cuddle therapy. Everybody, is that a real thing? I'm like, yeah,
It
it's a
is. There
real thing.
is. There is
Yeah,
people out there that are professional huggers and they get paid to hug.
yeah, yeah. So I was out, and the thing about because my first movie, Evil Lurks, because I'm in it. You know, sometimes I act when I need to. Um, I play a hypnotherapist. So I did research on hypnotherapy. And me and my wife went to this show, and this guy was a hypnotherapist. You know, he was hypnotizing people or whatever, blah blah blah. So even doing that, that kind of gave me the idea about, create when for my first movie, Evil Lurks, creating this character, Harold, as a cuddle therapist. I mean, not a cuddle therapist, a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
So, not to say Hug These Bones is like a continuation, but I am creating this therapy session series that I'm trying to do. Like I have the cuddle therapy because we shot some footage last weekend, which I'm super happy about. And then I have another movie about an exorcist,
Ooh,
which is it's called it's a working and it's probably gonna be the title, but it's called The Exorcist, The Possessed, and the Killer.
I like that. I'll be
Yeah,
honest. I've been afraid of therapy ever since I seen Get Out. I figured if that can be written down, and
yeah,
that probably can happen, is somebody gonna fuck with somebody's mind, and I hope it's not me.
yeah. And the one thing I don't want to like when it comes to like certain things, it's not and people get it. It's a horror movie. I'm not trying to make fun of the things because yeah, my family, we all go to therapy in some way, shape, or form,
Oh yeah, I mean
and mental
I think
illness
it's a
is
more common thing now, and
yeah,
especially after the pandemic, it's almost like a
yeah,
necessity in this
yeah,
world because a lot of people lost a lot of people to talk to, and a lot of
yeah,
people lost that bond where people would go out and hang out and talk their problems or issues at the bar or wherever they were going. That kind of
right,
went away, and it really
right,
hasn't bounced back to where it was. It never has.
right. Yeah,
So
so yeah. So I mean, so like I like the absurdity of horror, but I also try to create things that I can relate to in reality. Because we when we watch horror movie, we want to escape from the real horrors of the world and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm creating movies that had like we just did this scene, this amazing actor. It's a scene where he was at the rehab meeting, and she was telling her story. And my makeup artist, she put like scar makeup on her hands, so she was telling the story about how why her hands all scarred up. And we did this scene, and the scene is like 9 minutes long, and we did like a long shot of it. And we're filming and shooting. She was doing this stuff, and when I wrote the scene for her, I was kind of basing on certain things that's happened or stories I've heard and
yeah.
her doing the scene. And after the scene was done, we were like, we don't need another take of that. We'll do some shots here and there because everybody was just like crying because it was
Yeah,
just
you
like,
are you and then you if you can hook the cast, then you're gonna hook the audience.
yeah. And I mean that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm like, we don't need this scene is 9 minutes. We don't need to redo this because what you just did. We'll do some takes right here. We'll do half the scene right here. We'll do right. So I was very structured with how I was shooting it. But that's what I'm trying to that's the feel I'm trying to get for this movie. And it does have a realness to it. We're doing the handheld cameras. We're not, we're doing natural lighting and all these other things, and we're not making it fancy. We're not making it, sometimes I'm using manual lenses where shit is get in focus, out of
Oh,
focus.
I love manual lenses, to be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah. I
because
mean,
you get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I'm not a gearhead, but I love lenses and I love I love older lenses. I love lenses that has a little bit. I hate sharp lenses because it just
Yeah.
looks too clean. I like those softness of lenses. So I knew how I wanted to structure this next movie, and yeah, it is based in reality, but it does get absurd. It does get crazy,
As you
and
get more into it, I'm guessing, because like the beginning sounds like you, yeah,
oh,
and
it's straight
again,
up drama.
I'm really into a movie. If you can't get in me to like the characters, then I don't care if the killer kills everybody. I'd rather root for the killer. So
Yeah,
like
well,
I want to feel for the characters. I need to feel for
yeah,
them, otherwise I'm not hooked. So it sounds like in the first beginning you start to really feel for these people because you get to know them, you see their tragedy, their real life, and you're
yeah,
feeling all this and just but as you're watching it, it's just kind of growing in the absurdity
yeah,
of kind of horror and madness and everything's just getting weirder and wilder. But
yeah.
with the I'm guessing with a degree, but you kind of building it up to the end of it where it's probably just totally different than the beginning tone.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. It's so put it this way. When it gets to when he finally sees his kids and they kind of do a group session, things get things get crazy. And I'm not giving much away, but I'm trying to pump this movie out now to build people curiosity.
Oh, I'm already excited now. I
Picture
want to watch
picture
it.
picture a
I'm
group.
already here for it.
Yeah, picture group hug meets human centipede. Let's put it that
See, I'm already hooked. You mentioned Human Centipede. I like
way.
that movie. I think that
Yeah,
movie was great. Okay,
yeah. No,
and
Human Centipede. The first one, I know Human Centipede 2. People like, what the fuck? I say that too. But the Human Centipede, the first one was a really good movie.
the
Like it was.
first one I watched for cinematic value. The second
Yeah.
one I would say was shock value, and the third one
Oh
was
yeah.
just comedic. But
Yeah. So yeah. Third one was just like
that's
stupid.
just funny.
So,
But
yeah.
the second one was for shock value for
Oh
people
yeah.
to say
Easily.
what the fuck. But the first one you did say what the fuck, but you had the
Yeah.
compelling to watch it. You were
Oh,
intrigued.
I was like, this is a really good movie. Like this ain't just about shock. Okay, so I would say going back to Vic and you mentioning French horror, because that's my favorite
Yeah.
genre. That's my favorite genre of like, international film. Like
Yeah.
Japanese and French horror is my favorite
Yeah, I
genre
love
of
things like
horror.
Martyrs, High Tension, like,
Yeah,
any of those kind of Frontiers even,
yeah,
you get into that Anatomy, from Hell,
yeah.
even things like Irreversible, which is a different kind of horror in my opinion.
Woo! I will have to say I would never watch that movie again. Because
It
the 9 minute scene
The
and
9-minute scene is a hard watch, but the film
yeah,
itself was so different out there that I'm like, I'll give it where it's due because somebody filmed it. Somebody went out
yeah,
there and said, "This is what I wanna film. It's an art
yeah,
house project. I'm gonna make it. It might not make money. People might hate it, but I'm gonna put it out there." And at the end of the day, I like how it was shot backwards, the whole film, or at least it's played backwards.
yeah. No, I like that too, but I was just like, yeah, man. But the two movies that influenced the two movies, and somebody brought this up, and I was really happy about it because I think a lot of people don't probably haven't seen those kind of movies or don't get it. Two movies that inspire what I try to do at Vic Effects, but this is my safe version of it because I'm like I can't match what they did. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Martyrs is definitely influenced by everything that happened in the room in Vic and Faith with Redface and the person Redface was torturing. Inside, that you ever heard so
Oh,
you
yes,
ever,
that's a
Inside,
great film too.
Inside, and Martyrs were the two French horror movies that inspired things I try to do in Vic
Yeah.
Effects.
Okay,
Not
now
to the not to the
I'm
Theo
gonna rewatch it now and watch it with those tones in head and be like, okay, now
cool.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, so and those and I can easily say like what parts in there's obvious parts in with martyrs that I used in Vic Effects when they was in that room. When Redface is feeding
Yeah.
her the slop,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
fired. So it was like the because people was like the constant slapping of a face that was inspired by the stuff in Martyrs where the guy was just beating his.
He was just beating people.
I
Yeah,
was
he was just
like,
beating her.
I felt like I was getting. I was like, please stop doing this because the way they shot it, they faded out, faded back in. He beating her up, faded out, faded back in. He beat her up again, faded, and I was like, I get what he was trying to do when I saw that scene. I said, I know what he was trying to do, and that fucked me up. And that was another movie. I was like, I ain't gonna never see that movie again. And I saw it again because I just the way from a technical standpoint, one of my favorite horror movies.
I hate the remake, though. I'll be honest.
Oh
I
no,
thought the
I
remake was
refuse to watch
garbage.
the remake. I watched the first 20 minutes. I said nope.
I mean, I've
And I
watched
don't
some
click off
hard
movies.
watches. I mean, I've watched movies because like I said, I'll sit there on Facebook to tell me 5 movies not to watch. One movie, one I was like 4 in the morning. I wake up early. I was watching this movie Playground. You got a kid killing a kid in the movie.
Oh,
You know, 2 kids killing a kid, but it was done in a way that like, and I'll credit this because the movie itself wasn't this superb movie. It wasn't anything crazy. It just shows real,
yeah,
what kids are, kids that are unsupervised. It was trying to give on that, almost like an Eden Lake feel, something like that.
yeah,
But it's hard when it's just you got a bunch of kids, and plus you have kids. It makes it harder. But
yeah,
they shot it very wide and very far away, so you saw everything that was going on, but it was very like you could see the gesture, you knew what was going on, you could see the
right,
brutality, but it wasn't like close-ups, it wasn't
right,
close shots, they weren't glorifying it, it was just like, okay, the violence is just violence, and it just keeps going on and on and
right,
on, and violence is a cycle.
yeah,
And but this, like, I mean, I will say, I mean, like I said, Martyrs was a wild watch because a lot of those scenes that they were filming in that basement to me looked very realistic. They
yeah,
gave a real realistic tone to that violence
yeah,
that it didn't look that it was, something that you would, a movie violence. You could kind of,
right,
it almost looked real. It was very
right,
authentic. And that gave a more of even scarier tone to an already, because by that time already a lot of fucked up shit happened.
yeah,
Crazy shit. And so by that point, your senses are already shocked to shit.
yeah,
And now you're getting fucked up even more by watching all of this. And it's just like, God damn, this is just killing me right now. Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but you're compelled to finish it.
Oh yeah. And it just yeah, and like I said, from the second time I watched it from a technical standpoint, just watching it and stuff. Because when I watched it the second time, that's when I was working on Vic effects, and I was looking at the angles and I was taking screenshots of like how they were shooting everything. And yeah, I it just I'm into I'm not into jump scares. I'm into like a mood, a
Yeah,
mood that kind of
speaking,
gets me.
I was gonna say that because the movies that you're talking and everything, the jump scares not really the thing. It's
Yeah.
psychological horror, and jump scares at some point become almost when they're gonna happen because of the
Oh yeah.
sound. I was gonna say this earlier, like the sound almost gives away the scene so many
Oh
times
yeah.
because you got this rising tension. It's like, well, something's gonna happen.
Yeah. Something's
I
gonna
love
happen.
to do false rises, so rise it up and then just fucking cut to another scene somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're doing something else now. Fuck it, it ain't
Yeah.
scary, and just fuck with people's heads because then it kind of changes that. Um, but no, I was gonna ask you if you ever seen the movie Baskin. It's a Turkish film.
Basket.
Yeah, Baskin, Baskin.
Oh, Baskin.
Yeah.
Oh shit. No, man. But yeah,
I I recommend checking it out. It's a
I
movie
am.
about a bunch of cops and they end up having to go to a house and a call and basically there's a satanic cult there opening up a portal to hell. But the way
Okay.
that it's shot and everything, it's just like god damn. And I got to talk to the director and I got to, have him on my show, but you can find it, I believe it might be on Tubi. I know it's on
Is it on
iTunes and
Shutter?
Prime. Or it might be Shutter too, it might be on.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. If I can avoid ads, I'll watch it on Shutter. You said Baskin. Yeah. Let me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Send me that.
Baskin.
Send me that
It
info,
has
man.
a if you like movies with like a tone it's not so much
Oh,
the jump scare, it's gonna be the atmosphere that fucks you up.
yeah.
Try that. I do like
That's
it, but because like I said, I'm into that at that point. I've seen a lot of slasher films and you see a lot of these shock horror films. And yes, the violence in that movie, you could say would be a shock value in Martyrs, but at the end of the day, it's not even the part that scares you about that movie. It's everything else and just everything in general and the whole atmosphere of that house and what's going on and who
Yeah,
the people are and everything about it. That's the real horror of that film.
yeah. That I mean that and that's the I mean I know people yeah they will say like it's the shock value. You can look at a movie like a Serbian film and people always talk about that and the shock
I've
value
seen
of that.
that, and that's one
Yeah,
and done because because it was only made for shock after shock after shock. I don't
yeah,
see the cinematic value.
yeah. I don't either, and I was like, all right, but Martyrs, I see what they were trying to say because when eventually when things happened and she got skinned and then she supposed to look at see God or whatever all the other stuff is supposed to be within that movie. It's not a movie like you said. That movie is not a movie you can just kind of do other thing. You got to kind of
You have
either
to see where it's
you're gonna be
going.
despised by it or you're gonna think that movie's a masterpiece. I'm
But
just
at the end of the day, I almost compare it also to a movie like Hellraiser because it plays with this whole thing of pain, pleasure, life, death.
yeah,
And there's even scenes that almost mimic that when the skin is peeled back that is like very Hellraiser-ish. Because in that movie they did peel people back like that.
yeah,
Pinhead would just come in and just rip people apart. But he did it in a way, and he even said like you're gonna see the sights.
right,
And there was even like, there was certain key elements. I had that movie for some reason in my head when I watched it because of that ending scene. Because you do have Pinhead says, "Yeah, I'm gonna show you the sights of hell, the sights of pain, or whatever it is."
yeah,
And that's what it kinda did, but again, like you said, just leading up to it, what you were watching, the twisting, the
yeah,
turning, because the beginning is again, doesn't it's not like the end, it's almost like a sweet revenge film, and then it turns
right,
into something totally different.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but even like a movie like, like High Tension, you don't know what the hell's gonna happen to the end of it. It's like,
yeah. That movie, yeah, you think you're like okay, then also like oh, that's what that is, and that kind of that kind of opened up the the French extremity era when that movie
yeah,
came.
I mean, I'll be honest, when I saw a beautiful box set, I bought it up because it looks great. It comes with all the Blu-rays, comes with a nice little
Yeah,
book, couple posters, and I'm just like, because these are good films. I mean, I know a
yeah,
lot of people won't watch it, but I watch them also for, like I said, the tone. The I believe foreign film in general has a much different tone than American film. Like a perfect
oh god,
example is Speak No Evil. If you watch the original Speak No Evil, the
yeah,
ending is very bleak, but
yeah,
very bam. And then the American version is just like a superhero movie. It's like we need a happy ending, and I
yeah.
don't think horror demands a happy ending.
And that's how I feel about it. Like it's called horror. It's like horror. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's dreadful.
We don't always need a final girl, and we don't always need a superhero because at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
and
this isn't life, man. There's people out there, and the bad guy wins, and that's just
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, I can say a lot of things about Vic Effects and how it ends, and even my first movie, Evil Lurks, is just like they're just I it's just a matter of like like too bad, so sad, man. This is how
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, like, I put it this way, like a movie like Megan is missing. It's a hard watch, yes, very hard watch. But if they had made an ending that where the girl got saved, it wouldn't be able to tell the real danger of what it could happen on the internet.
right,
Because the real reality is you could end up in a barrel somewhere. Like you don't know who you're talking to. But if they
right.
have somebody come and rush in and save the day, that would defeat the whole purpose of a warning of a video.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like sometimes having that superhero ending defeats the kind of warning or defeats the purpose of the video because it's unrealistic.
yeah,
It's probable in some cases, yes, maybe like for instance in Speak No Evil, yes, maybe the mother and father would fight back more, but they could win. Like I don't know, I like movies like Funny Games that it's
oh
the
shit,
ending.
man. Yeah, funny
That's
game.
the ending.
That's
That's the
another one.
ending. The
Oh
ending's the
man.
ending.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind the remake because it was shot for shot almost. It just was updated a little bit in the time in the era,
Yeah.
but with the American language. But I do prefer the original just because I thought it was better casting.
Oh no,
Because the
yeah,
kids were so much more elegant. They acted
and
so much more elegant.
they did what they did, and then they break the fourth wall, where you're just like you doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden, the dude started talking to the camera, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like that that alone just kind of made that movie. That movie made me angry because it was just like it was just that yeah, like that guy
Uh,
was so good. I hated his guts, like just how fucked up he was. Then he's talking to you because he broke the fourth wall. He's talking to the camera. So while he's doing
yeah.
all this shit, he started talking to you, talking to the audience. That that's shit like that. That's scary. That stuff gets to you. You can do the vroom, boom, huh, and do the jump scare shit, but you get that. And once again, I think especially Hollywood, they want to do the superhero thing because they're like, all right, all this shit happened, but everything's better now. We're good. Like we still want you to walk away like happy. And I get what they wanted because they don't like. I don't want to be fucking miserable leaving out there. But I look at one of my all time favorite horror movies, Saw. That movie was brilliant. That
Yeah.
movie could have lasted 5 minutes. That dude was alive that whole time he was laying in the middle of the ground.
But the
And then
time,
once I did all the
and
other
even
saws,
that
I'm like,
that
yeah.
concept was mind bending at the time, but just like
Oh god.
the whole movie itself just changed the way a lot of movies got made, and a lot of things people started with these elaborate trap movies or people getting trapped, or it started a whole
Yeah.
subgenre of horror.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't the best ending for people.
Oh no, an American movie, and it wasn't an American movie like that ending that way. When me and my brother saw that movie in the theater, we walked to that movie. We walked out like, holy shit! Ain't never seen anything like that. Like seriously, he won. Like what? This
Yeah, because I
this is
mean,
how it
we're
ends.
used to Michael Myers dying for the ninth time, or
Yeah,
freaking,
man.
this one dying for the eighth time, and this one, survived, and that's why I like movies like even like Hatchet. I thought they did that well. The
Oh
ending
my
of
god,
that.
dude! I just watched all the Hatchets. Probably like 3 months before the year ended last year. I never seen them,
No, that's
and I was like,
underrated
okay, what is this?
slasher in my opinion.
I seen all four of them. I love all four of them. I was like, these
Yeah.
movies are fucking great, and the practical effects are these practical effects are better than some of the shit that I've seen in movies in the last 30 years. I'm like, holy crap, this is brutal.
And it was a new
Those
I liked
the
it because
movies
it
are
was a new
great.
killer. They brought a new killer to life, Aleister Crowley, and it just the way it was
Yeah,
done, and honestly, the second one leading up coming off the first one worked. Like a lot of sequels
yeah,
don't work or don't feel like it's in the same time period.
yeah,
That one felt like it was like, okay, just a couple months ago this happened. We're
yeah.
right back into it again.
Man, no, it was great. I really liked it. I thought, damn, I like really enjoy these movies. Even the fourth one. I know people say this and that about the fourth. I'm like, yeah, all these movies were great. Like
Oh, good
I
stuff.
would totally do a Hatchet marathon again with those.
Oh
Man,
yeah.
those are really good movies.
Good
But
stuff. Well, we've been just about well, we're a little bit over the time. I know I said now we're almost at the hour and a half
well,
mark, but
man, you know what, man? You start getting me talking about movies, and you and the
we'll be
friend.
here till morning. You'll be going to work and we'll still be talking. That's how I
Yeah,
am. Just I'll be like, let's go. I love movie people. So a lot of people can say, movie, but then they don't know the whole other movies,
nah, man.
They've only seen what's out there that other people have seen or know about. Like
No, I watch. You ever seen this movie called Dumpling?
I
It's
have
a
not
Japanese horror
was
movie.
it yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
I did watch that
About
one.
the
That was
yeah,
good too.
yeah, that was fucked up too. And I'm not gonna front. Here's the thing: I love horror movies. I get weird when it comes to kids shit within horror. I am not gonna lie, because you're right. I have a 5-year old and an 8-year old. So it's like I do get weird when it comes to kids and
J
horror.
Horror has some scary ass kids too. Between that little boy in The Grudge and other people, it's always these weird ass kids with these black eyes and shit. It's
Yeah,
like, God damn it.
yeah. And And that's the thing I love about especially Japanese horror. When you just when they just like just looking at you and their face all pale. Just simple makeup, not all this crazy stuff.
No,
Like so
they know how to do horror by just facial expression, which is another art.
I have so for my newest movie, there's a scene where we just bought some of that black ink makeup, and I said put that stuff on your tongue and stick your tongue out. We're going and put your eyes in the back of your head, and that's gonna be your thing because I think one of the best to me one of the best American remakes from a Japanese horror film is The Ring. And when I first saw that ring, when I first saw that movie in the theater and they opened up that closet and that girl had her tongue out, all black and her eyes like that, that scared the shit. That made me. That's I'm like,
That
holy
movie
shit.
scared me because
Yeah,
at the time the internet was rather new and it was all these
yep,
things and like honestly the idea of you watching something cursed wasn't a far-fetched idea.
yeah,
And it was a new idea. Like, okay, we've had people killing us in dreams, we've had this, but
yeah,
what if we watch something so fucked up that it kills us?
right,
And you know, it did a really good job, and I hadn't watched the Japanese version first. I watched the American version first,
hmm,
and it had such a dark tone to that video in general because the way
yeah,
it was shot, it was dark. It was, and again, having people just dying at a young age, it always like I said, like even the movie Pet Cemetery will mess me up
yeah,
because of the gauge. For a long time, kids were just untouched, maybe
right,
teenagers, but they were always adult looking or looked much older, so it didn't really hit. The
right,
kids in the beginning of The Ring, they looked like they was in high school, and they actually looked like they was in high school.
yeah,
So when you seen them dead in there, and you're just like the girl dead, you're just like okay. And then you got the boy in there in the movie, and he's watched this film, and you know that well, at this point, it's based off another country's film.
yeah,
Part of you wonders, will they stay true? Or could they stay true to a foreign film? And I had never watched it, so could they just kill everybody off, or could that happen? And
yeah.
that movie did scare me because the imagery, the movie within the movie was a brilliant idea
Oh yeah,
because it was so that shots and just the weird shit happening and the tone and the
yeah,
sound and just the ambience in that alone freaked
yeah,
me out.
yeah. Me too, man. And I see, and I did see the original. And I thought
Yep.
the original was good, but this is probably one of the first times where I like the American version better than the the original version. I
Yeah,
was
the Hollywood version,
I love the ring. I love the color palette, the green,
at least I
and
would say for the first one. Everything else after, I would say
oh no
go to the
no yeah,
Japanese versions.
that's all I care. That's all I care about.
The
I didn't
Japanese
like
though did do good with like Spiral and the second one and the third one
yeah
and telling the stories, but the first one, again, I would say I would agree with that one. I mean, because and I've watched a lot of Japanese movies. Like I remember like one missed film coming out, and they did an American version, but like I always preferred the Japanese version of that too.
yeah
I thought it was a little bit more scarier. A whole bunch of them. And even now collecting physical media, I'll see these films that I watched years ago that are now being reintroduced. Arrow films and such will put them out now. I'll
yeah
scoop them up and gab them because they're really good films. Like when I watched on it, The Nori Curse. I love that film. I enjoyed it immensely. I'd never seen it before, and I turned it on and I was like, oh, this is something different. Because I've seen a lot of supernatural films, but
yeah
I love watching, either like supernatural films from Japan or Thailand or out that way because they have such deep lore, and it's
right
different lore than the American laws, or it's different from the European laws,
yeah
and the superstitions are different, so everything looks different. But I feel like it's very authentic and feel. Even like Korean horror, it's very authentic and feel.
yeah
When they bring these laws to life.
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, honestly, I watch a lot of these movies to get ideas. I just for for me, yeah, I just I I just think people don't get it. America. I just think like I'm so influenced by international films and what the way they shot, the way they set things up, the way they do the music, and it's just like I'm personally getting sick of formulaic things and what we do when we make films. And I get so inspired by what they do. And I mean, and then I go back and, 20 years, 25, 30 years of movies that I'll say, see, like, holy shit, that looks real cool. And then try to add that element to what I'm doing. And then people say, oh, so you're in the art house and this and that. I'm like, I guess, I don't know. I don't think about what my movies are. I don't think about my movies being weird, and to me it don't feel weird, but it might feel weird to someone else's, or the color palettes. People say, with the reds that I use and like Jello, like on
I love
Argento.
Italian giallos, though. I
Yeah,
love that stuff.
Argento. And I like his movies, but I'm just like, I everything I do. I mean, I guess it's just what I watch and what I'm into, and it's
Whatever you're feeling in the mood of the film is about is where you're gonna
right,
kinda put the effort into it.
right,
I mean, I think,
exactly.
honestly, the difference is, if you really wanna know and how I feel, is that international people make films, and American people make merchandise and franchises.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
want
But you,
something that can sell. We want a Chucky doll, we want a Megan, we want something that we can make money off
yeah,
after the movie's long gone. Even if it sucks, they'll buy the character.
yeah,
And other places, they just make the film because they want the story to be told. They don't care if that character sells or not. They just want it out there.
yeah. I'm in the story business, and that's
Yes.
and okay. I want to make a movie about cuddle therapy. I'm gonna make a movie about cuddle therapy. I want to make a movie about Foley artists. I'm gonna make a movie about Foley artists. I'm in the story business, and I mean, I like merch. I got swag. I got shirts with all the characters. So I sell my merch and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, but at the same time, and when I do my anthology film, it's definitely gonna be more, especially with the horror host. It's definitely gonna be more dark. It's gonna definitely be more horror comedy within what she's doing when she's hosting the movies, and then I'm
Yeah, but see, like,
doing
for
stuff.
someone like you to say you got the murders of, I see as, as any independent filmmaker, well, that's your advertising. You can go to a con
Exactly.
right now wearing this. You give out your perks to the people on the
Yeah.
Indiegogo. You're gonna give out these shirts.
Yeah.
People like horror shirts.
Yeah.
I don't see it. You didn't make the movie to get into the shirt business, though.
Oh no, I made the movies to get into the story biz. I wanted to make a movie about,
Exactly, and I think that's the difference. You want the movie to do good, not the sales of the shirt.
yeah,
And that's what we get. We get all these, figures and video games, all these spin-off shits of a movie, and it's like, but the movie wasn't even that good.
yeah. And I mean,
With
no,
the and
no,
the
because people like, man, check out, I got these cameras, I got this stuff. And then you watch the movie and you just like, man, that trailer was so dope. And then I watched the movie and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm
man,
not,
I've
and
s
here's the thing, man. I don't care how good a movie is or bad a movie is. It's hard to make. I don't care what scale you on with. If you got $100 or $100 million, movies are hard to make. They're stressful. You got to get people and you make sure they in on time, and you trying to get this shit done in like 6 or 7 hours throughout that day or whatever, and you get it done and try to get it done, but it's
that's why I
hard.
give Rocky Palmer that shit. I'll act in everything, fuck it, as much as I need to. I don't care how many roles, fuck it.
Yeah,
Don't bother
man.
with anybody. No,
But it, but
I because of just time and the way I find things, a lot of my short films have been, I've used the kind of being alone, or that feeling of being alone, or of just being me. I'll be like, everybody in my family, everybody just be quiet, pretend like you ain't here, or make it a day that no one's home and I got the house to
yeah,
myself. I'll just film a short couple-minute film. I don't care. Um, but no, I had plans to like bring people in. I can only imagine the stress though, because you write these characters, you got to find someone that you want to play them, but then you got to have a budget. You just can't be bringing in Hollywood
right.
stars that you're used to watching as a kid, not off the bat, anyways. And so, you're playing a whole game. The character has to fit the personality of what you've written, or else it's going in that a wholly different direction. And everything just it goes everywhere. It's a chaotic scene,
Yeah.
but it's all for the right reason. It's all to get that vision out. Anything you do, regardless, even a painter has to decide what color paints they're going to use, what brushes they're going to use, what view of this object am I going to paint today before I
Right.
do it. Because once they start, well, no, even in a painting, you start painting one way, and all of a sudden it turns in. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to soften the light. I'm going to soften this. I'm going to do this. But you need to kind of keep to that original outline any which way, because the view you got is the view you got. And in a movie, a lot of times I think directors or people that write, or even anything, they second guess, so they end up reshooting scenes over and over again. And sometimes that first take is the best scene or the perfect scene to just
Oh,
run
I
with,
do. Absolutely.
because it's
Absolutely.
the realest. It's the realest
Mhm.
one. Everybody's really feeling it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause yeah, you get me. You do want for safety just in case like something clicked, something weird happened right here, and you got that other take. But if it sometimes the first take's good, the best take. Sometimes the fifth take is the good because you're getting a feel for it. And you're like, all right, now I'm getting an
Depends on,
idea.
I guess, what you want to go for. I mean, because
Yeah.
some movies or some directors will use authentic scares to scare the shit out of the people, because the actors don't know what's going to happen. So you get their real fear on camera.
Oh yeah. And I love that. I love that authenticity when you make like I have ideas and I have a game plan, but I don't storyboard. I don't storyboard and I give my actors free will to improvise if the lines ain't coming in the way it needs to.
Because you
A lot
want it
of
to
stuff
feel
a lot of
natural
stuff
to
in the
them, so everything kind of flows. Because sometimes you'll see like an actor and be like, he don't sound like that or shouldn't be talking like that. It just
yeah,
doesn't match to his personality or with the way he even looks.
yep. And
You know,
like a lot of stuff in Vic Effect, especially with the documentary stuff, there was scripted stuff, but there was a lot of improvisation and them talking and certain things that was happening. So
I love it though.
and,
I think sometimes, like anything, you're gonna get on set, you're gonna start getting used to the actors and everything, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
something's gonna click to say, hey, maybe this will be better, more beneficial, or
yeah, no, that
and,
makes it funner.
listening
Yeah,
to others too. Sometimes, we don't want to hear it, we want to do it our way, but it's nice to get people's input, because sometimes they do know better ways to do it, or bring a
right.
different light to it. Like, like you said, allowing the free will of the actors, they're allowed to kind of make little tweaks that they might see from their point of view, looking at the film, that you wouldn't see because you're not at that level.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
But
definitely.
so let me ask you, I'll finish up with this. Where can folks find you online if they want to like follow you? Would they use social media? You got like any websites or anything?
Yeah, so my social media is Kissing Castle Productions on Instagram. You can look me up on there. You can look me up on Chris Shern on Facebook. I'm usually on Facebook and Instagram. That's the main
Great.
that's my main source. I have a website that I'm gonna be updating new things. So it's kissingcastleproductions.com. So you can check me out on that. But yeah, but if you
Awesome.
want to get in touch with me, get in touch with me on Instagram, Kissing Castle Productions on
And
Instagram.
be,
I'm on TikTok, so I'm on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me about
and then
something,
we can see your, like you said, we can see your other film on Tubi.
yeah, Evil Lurks is on Tubi. It's also on Stash TV on YouTube. Yeah,
Okay.
if you go on YouTube, you can look up Evil Lurks and it'll pop up. But if you don't
And
want to
then
deal with
March
like
10th's the
that,
big day, though. March 10th,
yeah,
everybody can see
March
Vic
10th.
Effects.
Yeah, March 10th is Vic Effects. It'll be available on digital and physical media. I don't know where it's gonna be streaming at, but most likely it'll be on Prime Video.
Well,
When
definitely,
it comes
I
out.
suggest people, check out his pages for those updates. I know I'll be sharing it as well when I get information on it, because, well, why
Awesome.
not? I mean, like I said, I love physical media, but I love, this movie was great. I mean, I got
Thank
to
you, man.
watch
I
it, and
appreciate
thanks
it.
again for sending it to me early. I always appreciate screeners, so I know what I'm kind of talking about when I'm talking to people. And And I like I said, I really enjoyed it as something different, and I hope a lot of people, can kinda see that, it's great to put out something different because it can be fun, but it can also be horror.
Yep.
Great job, man. I love it all. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming
much.
on. Thank you, everybody at home, for watching, and as always, stay spooky, everyone. We're out of here.